GM, just a quick one before we get going. So, as you know, the Blockmates podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Certainly shouldn't be considered as financial advice. We have absolutely no idea what we're talking about half the time. So, any investment decision you do make should be based on your own research and your understanding of the risks involved. One more thing as well, there's around 50% of people who listen regularly who aren't subscribed yet. So, if you please could just do us a favor and hit the subscribe or the follow button or the like button, helps content grow, helps us grow, helps it reach more people like yourselves, and it mean the world to us as well. So that's the last I'll ask of you. So yeah, let's get to the episode.
Ooga booga to those of you who participate, and GM to the rest of you. But hopefully we can get you in tune with the kind of theme behind Berachain in this video. So what we've got here is a Berachain explainer. We're going to talk about the lore, the actual differences between Bera and other Alt L1s that are on the market, and how they're coming with a twist that utilizes liquidity as a form of security at the chain level. So this one is likely to make a very big splash in 2024. A lot of content coming from the Blockmates team here. And we also have at the end of this video a testnet to go through, potentially going to mean some tokens for you. So make sure you do stick along till the end. It should be very beneficial. With that being said, make sure you do subscribe and give a thumbs up on this video to help out with the algo. And without further ado, let's jump in. So you're probably familiar with the term Berachain, but maybe haven't got a clue what it's about. You may have heard of the bong bears and the kind of lore behind the starting point for Berachain. So this was it. It started off as an NFT collection. There was supposed to be 100 NFTs created of bears, as you can see, smoking weed, absolutely stoned. But unfortunately, 101 were created. As during the upload process, they did a double entry of the same image. So there is actually 101 original bong bears, which actually just adds to the lore behind this. So this was around summer of 2021. The actual collection here was inspired by Olympus. It had a rebase mechanism and it spawned from it additional NFT collections, and the floor price of which, if you add them all up today, are worth hundreds of Ethereum. Now, what they managed to do here with the NFT collection was actually draw in a core community of holders who were DeFi natives, a lot of whom are highly experienced in Web3. Some of them are probably notable characters on crypto Twitter. And so they had a core, strong community of big brains who also liked humorous things as per kind of the CT culture. So a community forms and they start to share ideas around what is missing from DeFi and the wider crypto space. And this just turns in time over to what Berachain has become today, live on testnet, looking forward to a mainnet release in Q2, and one of the most anticipated chains in crypto right now. So from humor, great memes, a lot of banter online, and some of its own kind of lingo, ooga booga, gib, BM, you would have seen these kind of things in the Discord if you attend. Well, there was a serious nature behind Berachain itself. As you can see on screen here, they raised at a valuation, again, a bit of a meme, $420.69 million. And that was led by none other than Polychain Capital. So the bearers have certainly come a long way. Smokey, Dev Bear, and Papa Bear have been working their socks off. And now we're moving forward into the next stages. And it's still kind of like the beginning of what Berachain is actually going to be. But there is a deep lore spanning back numerous years here behind it. So just to cover that off a little bit. Now, what is super interesting about this is the amount of users already on the testnet. So as you can see here, they've actually mapped this versus some of the major apps in existence right now. So Berachain took just 7.5 days to hit over 1 million users or 1 million wallets. Testnet went live around mid-January and a lot of people were highly anticipating this. And as you can see by those numbers, a huge community have gone and used the testnet. So this really is a testament to how to grow a community throughout a bear market. The numbers here are absolutely extraordinary. Most mainnets do not have this kind of usage. And I think this maybe ties into the fact that this started from an NFT community. And as we know with NFTs, you often have very vocal, very strong communities that form. And the fact that this then turns into a chain later may be one of the key reasons why they've been able to build such a strong foundation here and have so many people really eager for this to get going. Now we'll reference later Smokey's trifecta for a successful blockchain. He says we require users, developers, and liquidity. As you can see here, we've definitely got users In terms of liquidity, I think a lot of people are highly anticipating putting some funds over here from the get-go. And in terms of the developers as well, they do have Build a Bera, an initiative for almost like an incubation program for mentorship, networking, and even if the projects are up to standard, potentially get funding either from the foundation themselves or their wider VC partners. So in terms of that trifecta, I do believe they will be able to chalk up huge numbers of users, deep liquidity, and some cracked out hot devs. So let's take a little look at the tech stack behind this, the underpinning of it, and the fact they've actually managed to build something here with Polaris. So what is Berachain? Well, at a chain level, they've created an EVM compatible L1 built on top of the Cosmos SDK. So this they call Polaris EVM. It's going to be EVM facing, so people are highly fluent with using EVM. It is very familiar. This is going to help attract developer talent, as you can bring your Solidity-based smart contracts and deploy them to Berachain. But under the hood, we have the Cosmos SDK being utilized. So block building on Cosmos, a lot of efficiencies and different kind of innovations can be done as a result of this. And so quick TLDR, they've created essentially their own modular framework to provide the execution for smart contracts on the Berachain that have Ethereum-like reliability and functionality, but with more efficiency and customization. So I do think this is a very interesting mix. So with Cosmos under the hood, this actually allows for core primitive applications to be baked into the actual chain. If you've seen the Kujira explainer previously, that is something similar that Kujira has, apps baked into the chain itself. Now with Berachain, they have 3 core primitives ready, baked into the chain that will be good to go from day dot. These are as follows: BEX, the Berachain DEX. You'll obviously be able to see the lore here with B being utilized for example BERPS, which is called BERPS here. And also we have BEND, Bera's version of a lending market. So a DEX, perpetual swaps, and borrow lend there, i.e. take out leverage by borrowing the stablecoin of the Berachain ecosystem, which is ironically called Honey. Now another added factor here is that because they have Cosmos under the hood, they have IBC compatibility. So with IBC, you get seamless cross-chain interoperability. We're seeing a lot of movement on that kind of front right now with Dimension, Celestia, etc., and a very modular approach that can be utilized. But with IBC transfers, you're not only tapping into Cosmos, but they're also tapping into Ethereum as well. And so I think the addressable market for Berachain is absolutely huge, and this definitely will not be one of those siloed L1s with no economic activity on it. It simply isn't going to happen here. So yes, this is going to be a DeFi centric chain, I would imagine, as there will be a lot of liquidity on here, which we'll explain with proof of liquidity in just a second. But there's also a lot of other things occurring on chain here. As you can see, this is henlo.tech. We're going to see real world assets, gaming, NFTs, but here you can see a social app coming to Berachain, and I think this is super interesting as well. We haven't really seen social pop as yet in a major way with stickiness, but as you saw with over 1.5 million wallets or users on the testnet itself, this would obviously be a great candidate for a social application to take off on top of. If you've got sticky users, a cult-like mentality, it would make sense that a social app on here could work very well indeed. Now also with their baked in 3 primitives, they're chalking off the main kind of copy pastas you see on all the other chains. There's always a Uni v2 fork on every single chain. It's kind of like going into a British village where you see all the same like 5 high street shops copy pasted into every single village. It's quite boring. But with this over on Berachain, 3 core primitives already chalked off. So if you're going to come and build on top of this, you're not going to be able to compete with those core primitives. You've got to come correct and build innovative products, different things. And from what I'm hearing in some of the podcasts and stuff, a lot of teams potentially have been holding off deploying onto other chains, which are a little bit boring, and have been waiting for Berachain to go live so they can test out their more innovative apps and spicier things on this chain. So I do think this will be the home of a lot of new things to the crypto market, which then will lead into more stickiness if, say, for example, Berachain is the only place you can come and use some exotic DeFi applications. So let's talk about the proof of liquidity consensus. You've probably heard of proof of stake. This is something brand new and very innovative coming from Berachain. Few things we want to break down here. First and foremost, we need to just take note of the tokens on our network. There are 3. BGT, the Bera Governance Token, Bera, which is the gas token of the network, and Honey, which is the stablecoin of the network. So just to cover those off very quickly before we dive into proof of liquidity, I'm going to kind of go through the clean version here from the docs and then the dirty version from the Blockmates explainer article that Mike created. So proof of liquidity allows for users' liquidity to become a source of security, as providing liquidity gets you the governance token, BGT. Now on here, they've described some of the downsides of the current proof of stake kind of setup. So with proof of stake, an issue you have is the fact that a lot of the tokens, the native staking tokens, are just staked to the network, but provide 0 value outside of that. So you can sometimes get these chains with huge amounts of tokens locked into the validator set, staking, but no actual TVL on the chain itself. But with proof of liquidity, in order to actually receive the governance token, you have to provide liquidity to those 3 core primitives, the DEX, the BERPS, or the money markets. You provide liquidity, you get BGT. So this really flips the script on its head. Under proof of stake as well, you do get a lot of stake centralization. A lot of the newly minted tokens go straight to the same network participants time and time again. But under POL, this is very different. And what you're going to see is that the emissions go back to the protocol users. So this is very, very intriguing, very, very different, and something that is going to be revolutionary here in crypto. So let's just go through the actual flowchart here and chalk it off. So note here that BGT, the governance token, is a non-transferable token. It is soul bound to your wallet, to the user. There will be no active market for BGT either, so you can't buy it. You have to earn it, hence proof of liquidity, almost like proof of work or proof of adding value to this network. So as a user, you come and you provide liquidity to one of the pools on the DEXs as an example here. For this, you therefore receive BGT as your incentive. With that BGT, you're then going to go and actually stake it with a validator. So delegated proof of stake, you're the delegate, you've got some tokens, you're going to park your BGT with a validator here. The validator then produces blocks, they're getting those emissions, and the amount of those BGT emissions they're going to get will be proportional to the amount of stake weight they do have on the network. So these validators get the BGT emissions, and what do they then do with them? Well, they have, in essence, gauges at this point, and they need to vote as to where they're going to send these BGT emissions. So are they going to send them to pool A, to pool B, a combination of which? Maybe they're going to send like 80% to pool A, 20% to pool B. So you can see the validator is an active part of the economics of the chain here. And an additional part of this is the fact that bribes can also be introduced as well. So this would mean, for example, a protocol would come and bribe the validators with some of their native token and say, we're going to ship you this amount of tokens over this period. Make sure your gauge sends more BGT to us than the competitors out there. We incentivize you with our native token. And of course, those bribes are going to be passed on to the end users as well, who are going to park their BGT with the validators working with said protocol. So from this setup, you can see in order to have any influence on this network, you must provide value in the form of liquidity. So I think the capital on here is going to be very, very sticky. The amount of participation with governance is going to be through the roof as well. So this has a lot of the key ingredients to really chalk off liquidity and users from that trifecta we spoke about earlier. Developers, users, and deep liquidity. So within the Blockmates article here, give it a read. You can see the kind of dirtier version of this, where we're actually showing 2 liquidity pools here, and one has more incentives than the other. So in this example, say the validators are emitting 80% of their BGT to liquidity pool B and 20% to liquidity pool A. Clearly in this example, a rational user will want to come and provide liquidity to pool B due to the fact they're going to get more BGT rewards. So not only are users going to be providing liquidity to liquidity pool B here, they're also likely to provide their governance BGT and stake it with the validator here, due to the fact they can really win out because they're going to be receiving higher emissions. Higher emissions and this kind of positive feedback loop is going to mean deeper liquidity to this pool, and in essence, probably more fees to this pool as well. Furthermore, we have the added layer of the bribes as well. So a protocol can come and start to bribe the validators with additional incentives, maybe in the form of their own native token, in order to generate more users to obviously stake with that validator and kick off this flywheel of voting and emitting more of their gauge to the pool they so wish. And thus more BGT go into that pool, driving deeper liquidity. You can see how the incentives would be aligned in this scenario. And for the first time, what we actually see here, which we haven't seen before, is that validators and protocols will actually be able to work together. So as I say, this will mean more active and more sticky participation in governance and this overall network, as everything is being monetized. And validators, protocols, and users are all hyper engaged. So as Smokey has famously tweeted, the blockchain trilemma from his point of view is users, developers, and access to capital. Now we can see with this architecture quite clearly the users are here. They're going to be highly engaged. They're going to bring with them, as they have to bring with them capital to actually provide that proof of liquidity, to have influence of this chain. And so kind of step 3 with developers, that is the kind of missing piece that we're going to look forward to with mainnet going live. But from the data we're seeing on Testnet, it seems that there are a lot of devs ready, with projects ready to rock and roll. So we have a tri-token model here. Let's just go into it. So on the left-hand side, we have Bera. This is the native gas token of the network. Now it's going to be used for providing it into LPs. It'll be stakeable within applications as well, but think of it as the gas and liquid token of this network. Now, its relationship with BGT is that, as we know, BGT is a soul-bound illiquid token that is a one-way burn mint function. So you can actually burn your BGT to mint Bera at a 1-to-1 ratio, but you can't do the inverse of that. You can't convert Bera back into BGT. So if you want the kind of price volatility, the liquidity, and a liquid asset, you would be burning maybe your BGT or some proportion of it into the Bera token. Then on the right-hand side, we have Honey, which is the native stablecoin of the network. It's a fully compliant stablecoin, as it is essentially a USDC wrapper back 1-to-1 with USDC. It's going to be the main pairing on the network, used for LP positions, and also can be deposited into the BERPS vault, which will initially help you therefore start to gather some BGT by providing to those core primitives. So then the cornerstone of this BGT, the governance token, as we've mentioned, it's illiquid, it's soul-bound. You have to provide liquidity in order to earn this thing. You can't buy it and trade it. And so you have to provide your dollars or your liquidity into those core primitives to start to receive this thing. So this is where it really kicks off. The fact liquidity has to pour into this ecosystem and into these DeFi apps. Now, as we mentioned earlier, the gauges that the validators are voting on, there's essentially 2 types of gauges. The validators vote with their gauges as to what pools they want to send BGT to, in what percentage. So like 80% to this one pool, 20% to this other. And this will also inform a wider kind of chain-wide gauge of BGT emissions and how they're dispersed throughout the whole of the ecosystem. So BGT's main use there is to determine the overall reward rates to pools on this network. Beyond this, BGT also earns a proportion of fees on the network payable in Honey, the stablecoin. So therefore, if you were bullish on the overall network in terms of its ability to generate fees, its overall network volumes, and then trending upwards, it would make sense to be holding BGT for that kind of value accrual and that passive income in stables. And then as we saw, BGT holders can also receive bribes. So we can see underneath the hood how this works at a protocol level. Now, in terms of the actual ecosystem and its development, you can see from this earlier in January, we had this post come out of all the protocols listed, and it was a very long spreadsheet here. You can see some of the names on here, the categories within which they operate, and how far down the kind of pipeline development wise they are. So in terms of developers, users, and liquidity, I think we can see that the holy trifecta here is going to be in full force. So enough talking about the kind of theory. Let's jump into the testnet, see what it feels like, and do a few actions to get ourselves up to speed with Berachain. Now let's do a little walkthrough of the Berachain testnet to get us up to speed with using this and seeing what things are going to feel like, look like, etc. for the real mainnet when that goes live. Now, of course, with the testnet as well, by getting our wallets, transacting on there, we're of course potentially going to earn an airdrop. So that is obviously part and parcel of why you want to do this. Also, in the docs page here, docs.berachain.com, they have Berachain testnet Faucet. So we want to go to the Faucet. This is where we can get dripped a little bit of free Bera tokens. As we saw, that is the gas token of the network. And obviously we're going to click the link here and jump on over into there. Berachain walkthrough time. Let's get cracking. So we're on the Faucet. From this Faucet, what you need to do is connect your wallet in the top right hand corner. So you're simply going to grab your MetaMask or whatever your Web3 enabled wallet is, take your address and paste it in here. Now it should prompt you to add the Berachain network to your wallet, because if you connect to this site and you're on a different chain, then it's not going to work. But you'll be prompted when you get to this stage, and it'll get you to confirm within your MetaMask wallet, for example, that you're happy to add the RPC for Berachain testnet. So Berachain testnet should then be showing top left hand corner. As such, you'll be on this one here. To get the Bera tokens from the Faucet, 0.1 can be dispensed to you. Click to prove you're not a bot and then drip tokens. So I've just done a request prior to filming this, so I'm within my 8 hours, so I can't get another one as of yet, but you should get one come through and then you should get some Bera on your wallet as so. I've already done some swaps. I've been playing around on here for a little while. Now, top left-hand corner, explore. So I'm going to open up these tabs. So this is essentially the menu to get around the testnet. As you can see, BGT Station for governance, the BEX, Bend, BERPS. We've also got the ability to mint or redeem Berachain's native stable Honey against other stable assets. The Bera Trail down here, which is the block explorer. And we have the foundation page as well if you want more information on that. So we'll go through these systematically, starting with the BEX. So this is the DEX of Berachain testnet here. So you've got two options, swap tokens or view pools. We're going to do both of these things. You can see from the aesthetic here, quite a bit of bear-based iconography on here. Nice cool feel about it. The UI on all of these applications is second to none. Click into this. Make sure your wallet is connected in the top right-hand corner. And then you're going to swap maybe some of your Bera into another token. I'm going to pull up some wrap BTC here to use in just a moment. Do 0.02. Click on preview and then you can see some more bear iconography on here. And then we hit swap. Now in your wallets, when this pops up, you may get an issue around the gas fee being way too high. So this means you haven't got enough Bera to actually do a transaction. So if you go into markets and then advanced, and then go down and edit the gas limit here. This gas limit is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. Reduce that down to 6 and save these values as my default. So 1 million gas as a max, click save. And as you can see, this will edit the gas to a reasonable level so you can get your transaction through. So that's a little tip on here, confirm. And then this will do the swap for me into that wrapped BTC on Berachain. Just had a few issues there and had to swap into wrapped ETH. I just wanted to get either wrapped BTC or wrapped ETH for the next kind of steps coming up here. This is a little bit janky, I'm not going to lie, on the testnet. You may have to persist with things, refresh a few times, and just keep trying with things because, yeah, it's not working 100% smoothly right now. But if we go into view pools next, so we want to add some liquidity. So essentially what we're doing on this bit now is accruing some BGT as we're adding our liquidity to one of these core primitives. Again, look at this. The big honey jar in the top right-hand corner, the kind of theme behind this is just super, super cool. What I'm going to do is just add to a pool. I've already got some funds in. Go on my pools. You can see I've got some Bera to Stargates USDC, and you can click on add just to the left of me here. And then you would add the tokens in a 50-50 split. So you get your numbers to balance between the LP pair, click preview and add liquidity, and then confirm in wallet. Again, if the gas fees doesn't seem to be saving, just edit this, reduce by 10, and this should go through. So that went through successfully. I've added to the LP position. So we've done a swap, we've got some LP. Next, we want to actually borrow some honey against our assets. We're going to need honey for the BERPS vault. We're going to connect wallet, top right hand corner, similar steps as to previous, and then click on borrow honey. So this is where you can deposit wrapped BTC or wrapped ETH and lever up by getting some honey. So this is a very simple borrow lend market, but again, aesthetics of this pretty damn cool. And what we're going to do here is deposit some wrapped ETH. We'll put the maximum amount of wrapped ETH I've got in here. So it says estimated value 195. Approve this wrapped Ethereum in wallets. After the token approval is staged, we can then supply wrapped ETH to this vault and confirm the transaction in the wallet again. So that transaction was successful. So what we've done now is deposited more liquidity into one of these core primitives. So across the top here, it tells us we've supplied around $2 in ETH and we can borrow up to 117. I'm not too worried about liquidation ratios, etc. You can click borrow down here. We can borrow that max. Maybe we'll just shave a little bit off. We'll do like $1. And we've got the APY details in here, LTV, health ratios, etc. Standard stuff for your borrow lend markets. We're going to click on borrow and confirm transaction again. So now this account is showing us we've borrowed 110 out of our max capacity of 117 down there. So we're going to move on to the BERPS as of next. BERPS powered by proof of liquidity. So again, we want to add some liquidity here so we can get some BGT. Across the top, you've got the portfolio page, the different markets, because of course you can trade BERPS directly on here. Maybe you want to long some of these coins. A very neat user interface we're met with here. You can see you would be trading with dollars, which is honey. You can obviously use the leverage slider here to max out the leverage as you so wish. You've also got advanced order types like take profit and setting stop losses as well. So this is a pretty sleek UI, definitely comparable and at least on par, if not better, looking than quite a lot of the ones you may be airdrop farming across the crypto space right about now. You can also see the vault page. This is where you can actually add liquidity here. And this is where we deposit our honey to earn BGT. So I'm just going to click on max here and then approve honey in my wallet. And then when that approval goes through, I'll then put that max amount into this vault here. So it says deposit honey in exchange for B honey. Stakers receive fees from each trade placed on the platform, and B honey accumulates these fees in real time. So it'll be a real yield based income stream from this BERPS, and of course supplying this liquidity, very helpful for BGT emissions too. So once again, just edit that gas fee down, taking off a 0, and then this should go through. You can check out all your transactions on Berachain, which is the Explorer. If you go to tokens as well, ERC20 tokens, if you need to add any of these to your MetaMask so you can see the tokens appear on there, just come find the token name, so say it's honey, and then take the contract address, jump into your MetaMask wallets, go on to tokens, and then you would import token, and then paste the contract address in there, and then it will add it for you. Now on the honey page, this is where you can actually deposit stable coins in the form of USDC into honey itself to be used in this ecosystem, as honey is the most widely used stable coin, LP pairing, used for the BERPS, etc. So you're probably going to want to bring and bridge some USDC in at some point and then mint some honey. You can see there's a small fee for this. If we just go down though, a very cool looking site indeed. And they do have arcade mode as well for a lot of these apps, which turns things into almost a video game here, where you can connect wallet, input the amounts of your USDC you wish to convert into honey, click the big red button, the claw will come down, and then you're going to be spat out some honey on the other side there. So from that kind of user interface, user experience perspective, a lot of fun here on Berachain. Last thing to really show you is the BGT station. So this is where you would bring your BGT as you're accruing it from doing these different tasks for providing your liquidity, proof of liquidity, remember. And then you can see across here, my BGT page. So this is where it talks you through how to delegate. You've got the various validators on the network. So you'll need to decide who you want to stake your BGT with through this kind of tab here. So maybe you want to check out some of the names on here. You probably actually recognize some from other delegations you're doing. The delegate page is where you can actually delegate to the selected validator that you have meticulously thought about. Bear in mind things such as commission levels, and of course, if they're bribing you as well, that information is all apparent on here. So you would select and then confirm your staking of BGT to that validator when the time comes. There's a governance forum as well. So if there are proposals that do come up, I will be definitely voting on these straight away, just to see if that maybe accrues me some more points. You've also got a redemption page. So this is where you can burn the BGT into Bera, the liquid token. So this pretty much concludes all the various arms and under the hood workings that we talked about earlier in theory, but you can now kind of see them from the user experience front end stance. So get yourself some Faucet tokens, get over here, start playing with things and get a feel for the Berachain ecosystem and how this is going to work, because in my opinion, you're going to probably want to get real liquidity over here from day 0, from day 1, and then you're in line to be accruing BGT from the very beginning. And I think there's going to be a bit of a race for BGT, so you do want to be up to speed with things, good to go for the launch of Berachain. So I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, smash a like on today's video, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in my next one and soon with some more Berachain content. Peace.